So you wanna go to war with me? You're talking like you think you're royalty. You think that I'm afraid, but I don't break. I heard you question my stability. You think I'll fall just like a guillotine, but I am here to stay. Won't look away. The storm is coming, so you better start running. No, you can't control, feel it in my bones. I'm coming for the, coming for the.
All right, guys, good morning. How's everybody doing? Wednesday, February 14th. Happy Valentine's Day. Give me 1 second. I'm just replying to a tweet question here, and then we'll get started. All right. I was chatting with some folks about the Vanguard 13G. I don't know if any of y'all are following that news. If you have any questions, if so, we can talk about it. It's not really a news item for me, but I put an explanation out on Twitter and the community tab. Let's look and see how some stocks are doing this morning. AMC up about 1.5%, 456, very nice. GameStop up 0.6%, $14.20. The SPY is green today. Palantir back in the green. Maybe we have a good day in the markets today. Let's see what the overall indexes are looking like here. Stocks rises. Dow. Oops, let's go to this screen. Stocks rise as the Dow looks to rebound from the worst session in nearly a year yesterday. What a brutal day yesterday. We got all three major indexes in the green today. Asian markets ended their day in the red, and European markets are in the green. Bitcoin having a bit of a nice run again today, up 5%. A little bit over 52,000 earlier this morning, now at 51,828. Funny, after we ended the live stream yesterday, we were watching Lyft run up, and I was, the fact that they said they were going to have free cash flow was all well and good, but to get that massive type of 60% run up was a little bit strange. And why is this chart looks off here? There we go. It ran all the way up from $11 to $20, and then in the middle of their call, the rug got pulled. They were like, "Oops, we misstated something in our press release. Sorry about that. We're not having a 500 basis point increase in whatever it was, profits or free cash flow. It should have said 50." And when they issued that correction, all of this run up, people are like, "Whoops." The company had misprinted some data. So that's why it crashed back down in after hours last night, from 20 all the way back down to a more reasonable $13, $14 range. And now we have some still bullish buying pressure, up 28% from yesterday's close, 1557. We'll keep an eye on that one today. But if you're wondering what happened, that's the basic summary of what happened with Lyft. An editorial error in whatever they released that was corrected by an audible in the call yesterday in post-market. Brazil, good morning. Brian in the market, good morning to you. Coffee it up, boys. Let me get my headset plugged in so we don't have this speaker continually beeping at us. Just have it beep in my ear. Our runners this morning, we have Data C, ticker symbol DTSS, up 582%. Based on, as far as I could tell, based on earnings yesterday, which were not particularly, nothing particularly special about them that I saw in my brief look this morning. So I'm not playing that one. And if I don't understand it, if I was playing it, I would be taking some profits. Their earnings yesterday was negative 72 cents, revenue of 11 million. And that is a pretty significant jump in revenue. They had 6 million the prior quarter, 3 million, 3.6 million the prior quarter. The moves on increasing revenue. But the net income on the income statement was negative 2 pennies last quarter, negative 183 GAAP net income. And I'm guessing this up here it says GAAP negative 72 cents. I don't know what the discrepancy is there. Why I'm seeing a different number down here. But at any rate, now up 600%. Other movers that we have this morning, ELWS is up 286% from 43 cents to $1.98. That's still moving up here in the early minutes of the market. So that's one to keep an eye on if you're looking for something to trade. ELWS and DTSS. And then earnings this morning, a couple that I was looking at. Generac. Let's go to this screen here. Generac down 9% almost on their earnings. Kraft Heinz down almost 4%. Sony down over 4%. And Sunoco down almost 1%. So not a great earnings morning. On earnings this afternoon, what we'll be looking at is going to be Twilio, Cisco, Fastly, HubSpot, and Upwork, and maybe QuantumScape, sorry. Let me see what else we got in the news here. And let's put up the Bitcoin chart. Going off the map here. Been a nice week for Bitcoin. $10,000 since February 6th. All right, we got an update on mortgage rates. Mortgage rates surging higher again, causing home buyers to pull back. The average contract interest rate for 30-year fixed mortgages with conforming loan balances has increased to 6.87%. Last week, Applications to refinance a home fell 2%, but were 12% higher than the same week 1 year ago. I'm just curious, who's refinancing at this point? I just have a sense that everybody, most people, if you were going to refinance, you would have thought you would do it in the last 5 years. Applications for a mortgage to purchase a home dropped 3% for the week and were 12% lower than the same week a year ago. Jim says the inventory of houses for sale in my town is pathetic. Would you say that, in your view, Jim, that is bullish, or just the fact that because rates are so high, people just aren't moving? They're not moving, and so there's no inventory to sell. What are your thoughts? I'm kind of curious. I saw people posting this. Mark Zuckerberg, apparently he did a living room chat on the Apple Vision Pro, you know, those big ass goggles. I haven't watched it yet. I'm curious. Let's just read and see what it says here. Mark Zuckerberg shared his opinion of Apple's new mixed reality headset, the Vision Pro, in a video posted to Instagram, where he called Meta's product the better value and the better product. Ooh, shooting with both barrels there. While it's obvious that he would promote his company's product, his decision to post a video about the differences of the two products shows the increasing competition between Apple and Meta. Both companies are trying to sell consumers on the benefit of mixed reality headsets that overlay digital content over the real world or provide immersive virtual experiences. At this point, for me, like, I can't get real excited about walking around or even sitting in my house looking like this. Maybe they'll win me over with some future revision of the product, but that just is not too exciting to me. That's just me. I know that there's a lot of people that are really into this stuff, the early adopters. Meta has taken the lower cost approach with their product, while Apple has focused on sharper screens, more powerful processors, and higher end materials. Marky Mark, Mr. Zuck, says that his headset is a lot more comfortable, has a deeper immersive content library, and the field of view is wider. But he noted the Apple screen has higher resolution. $3,000 for some high-res goggles. Meanwhile, Meta's product, the Quest 3, starts at $500. So you got $3,000 to $3,500 for the Apple product, $500 for the Meta product. Well, that will be an interesting battle to both watch these companies battle it out for this new market and see future iterations of these products. And I think they will evolve. If you look at watches and phones and how we listen to music, all of that, if you think back to the very first version of any of those to where we're at now, if people adopt it, if they make these products useful in some way, they will continue to make it better and better. Wedmore says, what is the longest you have held an investment? Decades, Wedmore. Jim says, nobody's selling because they have a good rate. Houses he's talking about. And nobody's buying because they can't afford the payment due to the rates. I know. I feel like people around the country, unless you're changing jobs because you got a better offer somewhere and you're forced to move out of your local area, there's just not a lot of people willing to move right now. Smooth Operator, good morning to you. Jim says pure virtual reality stinks, but the mixed reality stuff is pretty cool. So you work at an engineering manufacturing firm. Cool. Jim says they're switching to more mixed reality. It's I would be willing to try it, Jim, if if I work somewhere and they were paying for it. Yeah, I'd try it out. I'm just not going to shell out. So you're going to have to make a really strong case for me why I should shell out $3,000 for some goggles. Let's look at ARM. ARM. It is up 7% again this morning. $128, slightly down off of the recent high on that candle wick to 164. Yeah, hell of a play. Hell of a play. And while we're looking, let's look at NVIDIA. Whoops. What just happened to all my screens? Hang on one second. Somehow I minimized everything. Let me get my browser back up. Here we go. All right. NVIDIA. $737, still moving. Oh, Mr. Bezos. Yeah, I forgot. I was reading about that yesterday afternoon and evening. Jeff Bezos sold another $2 billion of Amazon stock. This guy says why it might be a good thing. All right, I got to hear this. He sold $2 billion of the company's stock, taking his sales over the past week to more than $4 billion, selling 12 million shares between Friday and Monday. I'm not sure why this is on NVIDIA news, but since it's here, I'm going to keep reading it. The sales were part of a previously announced plan for him to sell 50 million shares by next January. So he's about 20% of the way in. And his average sales price so far was between 170 and 175. Amazon currently trading around 168. Let's get to the part about why it might be a good thing. It doesn't really say. I think what they're trying to say is because it was part of a 10b5-1, don't be bearish about it. 10b5-1 being a plan where an executive files it in advance and it's a predetermined sales plan. Jim says he must have gotten his bill for his mega yacht. Yeah, or is he married, Jim? Did he marry that lady? Maybe she wants to open up a boutique. sell some couture dresses or something. Honey, can I borrow some money? We got a nice article here on Anyone But You. Anyone But You could spark a rom-com renaissance. You know, if they could make all of them as good as this movie, then, you know, maybe people would go see them. This was so much better than the crap that you see on streaming. Everything about this movie was good, in my view. And now Sydney Sweeney is in the Madam Web that's coming out. And I was looking at the reviews of that movie, and I don't think there's been a worse Marvel movie since, what was that, Morbius? Madam Web. Coming in at, well, I want Rotten Tomatoes, not Box Office Mojo. The reviews for this thing are not very good, unfortunately. I'll probably still go see it, but 18% from the critics. Hopefully the audience will score a little better. I watched the preview last night. It didn't look horrible, the preview, but the critics are just trouncing the story, the storyline. So that's not great news. But in good news for Movie Land, the Bob Marley movie comes out today. Bob Marley, One Love. I say good news just because I like his music. I like his life story. I think we need some good, inspirational, feel-good music. They only have rated this one 40%, the critics. I haven't read why. Let's see what they say. Polite to the point of banality. A film that's otherwise a little too saccharine for its own good. Come on, we need a little bit of saccharine right now, Michael Sullivan. On the good side, Tim Cogshell from Film Week says this is fine, serviceable, and highly performed. Everyone is working real hard to be authentic. Chris Hewitt says Lashana Lynch is outstanding as the legendary musician's talented principled wife. Come for Bob, but stay for Rita. That's interesting. When your supporting character is getting call-outs more so than the main actor. I'm just going to go for the music. Jim says Bezos is engaged but not married. Thank you for that, Jim. Yeah, Sydney, definitely. She's good at pushing the costumes, right, Jim, on the red carpet and in the movie Anyone But You. Oh, man. That costume designer, cheers. Cheers to you, sir or madam. Let's see what else we got going on here. Did Mullen drop their 10Q yet, or 10K? They did. All right. So I was upset yesterday that they only dropped the 8K. I see there is a 10Q filed now. So I will need to go in and review that. I don't really know that anybody that watches my channel owns any Mullen. If you do, drop me a comment in the chat or in the comments if you're watching this on replay. I don't know that I'm going to be making any Mullen videos until they actually post up some revenue. But good Lord, there is quite a battle going on social media between the people that are super bullish about this company and the people that are actually reading the filings. I don't know if I need to weigh in on it or not. But if some of you might find that helpful, I'm happy to make a 5-minute video with some thoughts. In general, my thoughts are they need to post revenue, not invoices. Mullins, yeah. Whatever happened to that guy? It's Mullins. They need to post some revenue, and I need to see how they're going to get out of the hole on their cash burn without diluting shareholders more. That's my concerns in a nutshell. What other stocks we got? Fun stuff to talk about today. ZJYL holding steady at around $8. 881. After that big old pump, and they did. This is the one, right? Or was it BRM? No, it was BRM. BRM issued a dilution notice. I can't remember if we talked about that yesterday or not, but I tweeted out yesterday. Surprise, surprise, you know, per the CEO handbook, when you have a big run-up, BRM. No, BMR. BMR, right? Beamer? Here we go. When you have a surprise run-up like this, what do we typically expect, guys? If a company needs money, we expect a share offering, CEO Handbook, Chapter 1. And what do? They announced yesterday a $12 million offering, $12 million, 1.71 million shares at $7 a piece. The free float is 4.69 million. So they're, you know, it's almost a 50% float bump. And that is part of the reason that this stock is going to struggle. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. That is coming up here shortly. What'd I say? On the 15th? On the bright side, though, people are going to focus on the announced partnership with NVIDIA. So hard to say what's going to happen. Will the market soak up that offering, or will it get pushed down? If I had to guess, my guess it will get some negative pressure over the next day or two. Holy shit. DTSS now up 1,000% Unbelievable. What is the float's 1 million, 1.4 million. Well, there you go. Take your profits. Don't forget to take your profits. Disney at 110 this morning. Finger up 4.5% at 230. GTII also up 4.5% at 22 cents. GameStop up 0.5%. Highcraft up 1.5%. I was listening to a space call by some of our good friends in the AMC and Highcraft community, and they were pondering to themselves, why isn't Highcraft mining? I just don't understand why they're not excavating. And I'll just humbly say, I don't understand why people don't watch my videos or read Highcraft's press releases, 10Qs, anything that they've said in the past 2 years or that I've said. Why is Highcraft not mining? If you're asking yourself that question and you haven't been reading or reading the company material or following my channel, in short, they've excavated all of the ore that they can. The remaining ore that is underground that has the silver and gold in it is a different type of rock. You can't just throw the bulk of that on a leach pad and get a good extraction rate of the silver and gold. So they've told us for the last 2 years they need to build a milling plant, because this new ore that they're going to take out, if they get to that step, is going to need to be ground down, milled in these big rotating ball milling machines, grinders, if you will. And then they do a chemical process to it after that. And that milling plant is going to be super duper expensive. They'll still have some ore that they can throw on the leach pad, but the bulk of the material is a different type of rock. And so all of the core drilling that they're doing is to, if I could just explain it to you simply, they're looking for the best possible story to tell to justify why they're going to need to spend up to $1 billion building a new milling plant. $1 billion they don't have. And so they're doing the right thing. They're drilling, finding out, if we build this milling plant, if we restart operations, where is the best place to start extracting this ore after we build the milling plant? And so that is the answer, why they're not just in the pit excavating. They're mostly done with that. And now they need to transition to a milling operation. Will they get there? I don't know. It depends on the price of gold and silver. It depends on the continued results from the core samples they're doing, and it depends on what's that plant going to cost and where is the money going to come from. So a lot of ifs, and we are waiting for them to complete the 2024 drilling program, the core sampling that Diane Garrett just announced this week. When that is done, they'll take all of those core samples, analyze them, and they have told us that later this year, we will get a feasibility study of if the mine should invest in a milling plant and could restart mining. We won't know the answer to that till later this year. So for me, it's still a speculative investment. And I wish that people would just read what the company's putting out so that you have the right way to analyze that play and understand both the upside potential if they restart mining and the risk if they don't. NAMAC is asking about halts on Data C, right? Where'd that chart go? ETSS. Let me check the halt bot I have in the Discord and see. I don't know if there was any halts. Let's see. I see that BMR has had some halts. Yeah, there have been halts in Data C this morning. I'm seeing them. Our bot logs all the halts. Down she goes, Data C. Let's see if it breaks through 14 or holds. And just out of curiosity, I want to see what their cash position looks like. They have $20,000 in cash on their balance sheet. That was annual. Oh, $440,000 of cash. Total current assets, 4 million. Liabilities, 2.4 million. Have they been increasing the share count at all? A little bit over the last year. And let's see what dilution tracker tells us. If they have any filings. Overall risk, medium. Offering ability currently is low. Cash need is high. I would expect an offering coming out on DTSS, a dilution offering this week. Maybe today. But it won't be during market hours, so you can have fun trading it today. Uber's announced a $7 billion share buyback. Let's see what they're doing. Uber says, Lyft, you're not going to leave us in the dust. We're going to buy back $7 billion in shares. Uber up 11% on the news this morning. Nice little run up. If you bought it at 22 bucks, 22 to 77. Who says there aren't deals out there? That was a year ago, the recent low. If you're lucky and you have the right picks, you can find some stocks that will outperform the index that are profitable. Let's see how they're. I'm pretty sure if I recall, Uber announced a profit. Yeah. Net income $1.4 billion for the most recent quarter. And they've had 3 profitable quarters. Finally. And that kind of makes Lyft an interesting prospect also. I've not been a fan of Uber or Lyft for a long time because of the cash burn and the money losing. But if they're finally figuring it out, might be time to start looking at these a little more seriously. Bob, good morning to you. How you doing, sir? Speaking of Lyft, so we know Uber is up. Well, come on. LYFT. Lyft is rallying again, up 37%. Shaking off that news about the bad data they dropped yesterday. These are our top runners this morning: DTSS and ELWS, Early Works, and Data C, SEA. Both giving back some of the early morning gains here in the last 15-20 minutes. All of our stocks that we were watching for pre-market earnings are all in the red pretty considerably. So I don't know, and all of our other retail meme stocks that I'm watching are kind of just hanging out. Might be a good day to go get some research done, go buy a guitar, and maybe do a little bit of work out in the garden. What other questions you guys got while we're still here? We got about 10 more minutes or so. Just checking other news. Coors gains market share as consumers shift away from Bud Light. I contributed to that. I got a 12-pack of Coors Light, the silver bullet, in the small fridge. Normally I do Miller Lite, but sometimes I'll shift it around. If I'm buying a light beer, I'll swap between Miller Lite and Coors Light. Atrum Equus says, got any thoughts on GameStop for this next quarter? Hasn't Ryan bought stock after Q1 earnings the last 2 years, which causes a pop? My thoughts for GameStop is I would like to be bullish. I would like to think that they're going to report positive earnings high enough for the quarter that just ended that will get them to a positive earnings for the entire year. That's what I would like to think. And so based on that, on these recent dips, I have been rebuilding a position in GameStop. But So we have what? Many weeks until earnings. They usually report around late March. If we go back and look what happened in the last couple quarters, they fell from, they had a run up last year from January to early Feb, and then fell all the way into earnings, then a big pop on the earnings date. All right, that's one data point. If we go back a year prior to that, same kind of scenario. They fell all the way from November to earnings. There was a little bit of run up again, January to Feb, but the low was in right at earnings and then got a major pop. That was 2022. (2021) same type of story. Of course, it's hard to compare this year because Keith Gill was covering it back then and people got all excited and we had that huge pop in January, but it came back down and then got another pop right before earnings. Hard to compare that, so I try not to look at that. With that in mind, would not surprise me if GameStop comes down between now and end of March. And so I'm keeping some dry powder in my GameStop trading account, and I'll slowly be adding if I can, if it goes lower. And then I'm going to cross my fingers for a earnings pop, and then I will be selling it. That is my plan. And I'm only trading GameStop. What would change my mind to not sell? I'd have to hear something from the company that they have a change in strategic direction besides closing stores and cutting costs. If I don't hear that, then I will sell and wait for a dip and buy back in. Blazin says, any thoughts on AMGN? Let's take a look. Is that Amgen? Yep. Ooh, nice pullback on that. Let me take a look, Blazin, and see what the data tells us here real quick. And what news? Oh, it was earnings. Earnings is what crashed them, huh? Nice revenue chart. Net income took a spanking the last 3 quarters on Amgen. It's going the wrong direction if you guys can see that chart. From a year ago, it's done nothing but go down. Earnings per share is about 50 to 70% lower than recent highs, depending on what number we're looking at, the $3 range or the $5.28 range. $3 is about average. So most recent quarter came in at $1.42. And their free cash flow got spanked also. So we kind of know the lay of the land. My next step, if I was looking into thinking about buying Amgen on a dip, would be go to read what was management's, what was their guidance for the next year? What was the reason for the big decrease in net earnings? I'm net income. I don't know that because I haven't read any of the of the press. This is strange. They have on this balance sheet 0 cash and everything in short-term investments. I would presume treasuries. Not a big deal, but interesting choice. They flipped. Normally they have no short-term investments and a lot of cash, and they flipped it. Otherwise, the balance sheet that's not a big deal. Balance sheet looks fine. Working capital is fine. Long-term debt has been increasing, though. That is something to think about. Increasing considerably from a normal carrying amount of around 35 billion to 63 billion. Yeah, there are a couple of concerning things there to go dig into. Let's see what the analyst, if we have any recent updates. Salveen Richter over at Goldman Sachs reiterates a strong buy with a $350 price target on top of, despite that earnings miss. And Terrence Flynn comes in with a more reasonable hold over at Morgan Stanley with a price target of $278. Gregory Renza at RBC Capital says over the next year it could hit $329. So we got mostly a lot of buy. We got 3 people, 2 with a buy, 1 with a hold. Somewhere between 278 and 350 would be our price target for that. But I wouldn't go on that until I dig into the questions that we were just asking about. Why did they get a spanking, and what is the outlook for management? Okay, and you guys are still talking about Ryan. Yeah. So the company did approve him to invest the company's cash, right? In equities. And I'm okay with that. Some of that money into equities instead of treasuries. Then you have the risk exposure that investment brings to their asset side of the balance sheet. If he chooses well and the market cooperates, the general market, then he could outperform the returns that they're getting on with derivatives, and they'll do that hedging to achieve their desired return if all goes well. So I don't know I don't know what Ryan's strategy is going to be if he's going to do that, buy equities and then hedge with options. But it does definitely give him that ability, right? We'll just have to wait and see. It is an exciting prospect. I mean, if he does choose wisely and the market cooperates, he could up their cash position even more. I'd rather see him use that cash once they get into a position of stability where they've cut enough locations and tightened up the organization, and they're able to generate profits, even if we expect it. Everyone expects it to be small profits. So I'm not expecting any major GameStop run up. There's nothing that they're doing to create a massive squeeze in GameStop. They're trying to stop the bleeding. They're cutting locations, cutting layers of management, cutting benefits, all in an effort to achieve profitability, which is a great foundational step. But then I'm asking myself, what is the next step? How do you become a mega company in light of what's changing in the industry? That inevitable march towards less and less media that requires you to go to GameStop. I don't want to own GameStop. I don't want to own a retail store that sells plushies and joysticks. I want something bigger than that. Otherwise, it just becomes another brick and mortar story, and those are a dime a dozen. So what would be exciting to me is to see them potentially use that money they have, the cash they have, for some strategic acquisition. That's what I'd like to hear. And they've just been silent. They tried the NFT marketplace. That didn't work out. Unfortunately, I don't fault them for that. At least they're trying. But we need something new to get people excited. All right, we are at the 1 hour mark for our market open conversation. Let's take one quick look again at some of the interesting plays of the day. Our meme stock panel. We got AMC up 1.3%, GameStop down 0.18%. My most recent buy on GameStop was at 1370-ish. If it drops below that, I'll be adding more. Below it, like 1250, I'll be adding more in an increased position size. I'll be watching GameStop for the possibility of adding more shares if it drops between now and end of March. Palantir up 4% at 25 bucks. The SPY is up almost 1%. Our morning runners, Data C, DTSS, and Early Works, ELWS, still in the giving back mode. Keep an eye on Uber and Lyft today if you're looking for some good news plays. And with that, we'll be back at market close to watch some of the companies that are having after hours earnings. Nothing I'm too excited about. We got Twilio, Cisco, Fastly, HubSpot, Upwork, QuantumScape. Tomorrow, we got Crocs, John Deere, Yeti, Wendy's in pre-market, after hours, DraftKings, Coinbase, Roku, Trade Desk, Applied Materials, DoorDash, Toast, and Open Door. A lot of exciting earnings tomorrow. Friday, we got Cinemark. I'll be live covering the Cinemark earnings and their call in pre-market. I think that the call is scheduled pre-market. I'll be live for it whenever it is. And then the market is closed on Monday, if I recall correctly. So we will see you guys back this afternoon to watch the market close and talk about the earnings after hours. 2 o'clock Central, 3 o'clock Eastern for 90 minutes or so. Have a good trading day. I've got a lot of stuff I need to get done this afternoon, so I will see you guys. And if you're in the Discord, I'll be hanging out there as well during the middle part of the day.